It's day 2 of Reading Festival 2017, and I'm here with Sean of While She Sleeps. How you doing?
I'm not bad, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
Good.
So how do you generally feel on a day like Reading Festival? It's like quite a big deal, Reading. How are the nerves? How are the stress levels?
I get more nervous doing interviews, if I'm honest. But no, it's kind of a big waiting game today, do you know what I mean? Because we're on so late, so it's kind of just everyone's just waiting to warm up and get ready for the show. Like, it's hard to go out and enjoy yourself when we've got a job to do later. So I'm just waiting for the set more than anything.
And then afterwards, say maybe there's a tech hitch or something like that. Will you like obsess over that? And
what if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest, I used to be really bad for that. Like if my gear messed up or anything, I'd get really stressed and it'd really take me down.
Yeah.
But for the past like maybe 6 months and that, I'm quite good at letting it flow over now because I'm like, no one knows but me.
Yeah.
So there's kind of no point me just jumping on it and letting it take me down. So if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But everyone else will have had a great time, and that's one of the main reasons. So I hope I have a good show as well, obviously.
Yeah,
So
obviously.
we'll see.
Is there anything that you put in place on a day that you know is maybe more stressful than the average day to just help you get through it? Like any coping mechanisms to keep you calm and relaxed?
For gig senses, I mean, not really. Gig senses, I just try and stay away from alcohol and stuff like that. Like I didn't get drunk last night. I don't drink as much anymore because it tends to lead. That's an advice I'll give anyone who struggles with anything like anxiety is stop drinking immediately.
Yeah, I don't drink anymore either.
Even though it's a great way to get rid of it, and it does work, it works perfectly, but it does shove it under the rug for a long time, and I was doing that without myself knowing. So there'd be a point where I'd drink and I'd get rid of all my anxiety and all this stuff I was going through, and maybe 7 beers in I'm like, and it's gone and this is great.
Yeah.
But then the next day I would have a really, really tough time and it'll go on for weeks, and that's kind of what brought me down. So I had to I called it going raw with anxiety myself. So what I did was no more drink, no more drugs, no more smoking, no more shit food. And anytime I experienced any anxiety, I would feel it all in its entirety without doing anything about it, instead of when people get worried, they drink or they take tablets.
Mask it.
Yeah, so I did this thing where I'd say going raw, where like whenever I felt any of these feelings, I'd be like, right, I'm going to do this, and I'd sit there and I'd be aware of it as much as I can, instead of trying to find something to take it away.
Yeah.
And that for me is worked wonders. Do you know what I mean? Instead of, it's scary and it's easier said than done, but to consciously be aware of what's going on inside you and look at it with open eyes instead of trying to run away internally, it works wonders for me, like for real.
It's like acknowledging the problem and going, okay, rather than like batting it away. It's like mindfulness in a way, isn't it?
It's exactly like mindfulness. Like meditation's helped me a lot if it's done correctly. I mean, like this kind of saying, like if you have a headache, you can't run away from a headache, can you not? Because it's in you. It's no separation. So what's happening is people are getting these sensations of anxiety, and they're trying to separate their personality from them. They look back on them and say, this is terrible. This feeling that I can feel is terrible. So they're separating themselves from it. But in actual fact, right now at that present moment when you're feeling it, that's what's going on. You can't run away from that anxiety because you're feeling it. So you're trying to stretch away inside, it's impossible. So the best way to deal with it, always, if I ever feel anything like that, I start to feel like the energy filled within my body. So like if you close your eyes, and open your hands, you can feel if your hands are still there, right? Yeah. Because it's buzzing inside. That kind of a feeling, if you follow that throughout your body when you're feeling these things, I guarantee within 5-10 minutes it'll start to subside, because you're not trying to split yourself away from it. You're consciously being aware of it being there, and then what happens when you don't mind feeling scared? It goes away.
Like magic.
Like magic, because you're not saying I hate this, you're saying, okay, I'll deal with this now and see what happens next. You know what I mean? And I guarantee if you have the courage to look at those things, they will, number one cure. Forget the tablets, forget the therapies, forget that. That is for me the number one cure. Look at the problem inside and you'll see.
And did someone give you that advice to take that action, or did you just work it out?
This is all from personal research and stuff like that, but this is from a philosophy called Taoism in China, which really helped me out. A guy called Alan Watts, a philosopher who brought the Eastern teachings to the West a long time ago, and a guy called Eckhart Tolle, who wrote the book The Power of Now.
Yeah.
You like that book?
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like, he's my modern day spiritual teacher, which those kind of methods came from him, and I recommend anyone who struggles with these things to get that book and listen. Don't even read it, get the audiobook, because I used to be pretty crap at reading books. So I got the audiobook and I listened to it every night without fail. And it's those methods that trump anything I've ever experienced. So I went down like a Chinese herb route. I took a few tonics like reishi mushroom and ginseng and hisho and stuff like that to help get rid of the symptoms of anxiety, the feelings of anxiety, but they will never get rid of the cause of the anxiety. So there's lots of good natural things to get rid of the feeling that you dislike so much. But the main concern is to get into the point as to why it's happening in the first place. So I can see, like, I do get nervous in interviews, so I know that then the feeling pops up then. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be nervous for a little bit now. And then instead of being like, oh, I don't want to do it, I sit here and I'll feel it on purpose and it slowly goes away. So.
And how great do you feel at the end of that when you know I managed to manage that and get through it and I'm all right? That's a great feeling.
I mean, it's really cool. I never think about it because it's me. Yeah. But our drummer is always saying to me it's like a success story, because I had a really bad 2 years where I thought I was going crazy. I didn't know what to do. I was taking anything I could. I would drink. I couldn't leave the house without drinking like 6 cans of beer, that kind of bad, and I was so confused. Went to doctors, tried to get some tablets. They gave me the tablets, but I went home, I read the side effects, I couldn't take them because it's not what I agree with. Threw them against the wall and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I had a really bad time. But yeah, it's surprising that I have actually come through the other end, and not only that, I am now incredibly interested in Eastern teachings and meditation and philosophy and stuff like that because of the problems that I had. So it's thanks to that dark time that's given me this platform that I now enjoy talking about these things, because I know how hard it is for some people to be stuck there and not have anyone tell them what to do. Doctors won't tell you anything decent, I guarantee. Tell you nothing about diet, tell you nothing about cutting sugar out, nothing like that. So me finding these methods, I feel I'm actually currently trying to make a little short film about this to help people. So I'm glad I'm doing this, so hopefully I can reach out a little bit more.
What was the wake-up call that made you go, okay, I'm not going to mask it with the drink and the drugs and stuff? Was it someone telling you you need to shape up?
No, this was, honestly, this was all self. No, my friends were there for me, of course, but anyone who struggles with anxiety or depression knows that it's only them. Doctors can help you, your family can help you, but they can't really get to it, because you know how complicated it is inside and it's hard to deal with it. But you know, I've got my head screwed on a little bit, so after the confusion died down a little bit, I understood that I cannot go on like that. And it was like a moment where I got the tablets that I wanted, but I couldn't take them because I don't enjoy taking that kind of synthetic stuff. So I was at this like bypass of, I want to take the tablets because I don't know what's going on, but then I can't take them because it's not it doesn't suit me in that way. So that moment is when I'm like, right, I've got to hit it head on. But in this transitional period, I always listened to Alan Watts when I was younger, and I never really understood what he was talking about until I always enjoyed listening to his voice, but I never understood what we were talking about until I went through these things. So then afterwards, I'd go back and listen, and I'm like, now he's making more sense, and it gave me this, I just got empowered I got interested in nutrition and stuff like that, and it just went from there really. And I think it's rubbed off on some of the guys the way that I think and look at things now, just because this is what I'll say to anyone who is struggling. You won't feel like that forever. It's impossible for it to do so. So try and look at this as the beginning of something great that's just not here yet. So you might be struggling now, but it will change. It's impossible for it to stay like that. So keep your eyes open, and you might see the lining coming. I kind of seen it. I'm like, okay, now I really see the lining, because there's a lot of kids that message me now about it, and I can directly help them. So the lining for me now is, I'm like, I know how scary and horrible it is, but now I can actually help someone, and hopefully if I can help one person, then I'm glad. Do you know what I mean? So
you've got a focus and almost an understanding of why you've maybe had to deal with this. It was part of your journey to where you are now.
Absolutely. So it's not like I believe in destiny or fate. I do believe in the natural flow of everything. And it's happening because it's happening. If it's happening now, then it's happening. So don't say no to it. Try not to anyway. So if it's happening and it's so terrible, it's never the situation that everyone says. It's never the situation that's bad. It's always the way that we choose to say about it. Everything is what it is. Now, forgive me because I'm quoting this book a lot, but this is the way it is from Eckhart Tolle. So everything always is as it is. So the sooner you can look at things like that and stop saying no to it, the more that you say no to these things, the longer they'll stay. But the more you start to accept as much as you can, the longer they'll go. But I don't want to think about a green elephant. You're going to think about a green elephant. I don't want to feel all this anxiety. You're going to feel it. So But like, this is easier said than done. This is why I'm trying to find a method in which to slowly bring people into this way of thinking. But the main thing for me is keep your eyes open inside, see what's going on, see what you're thinking about.
But this isn't just a thing for people with mental health issues. I think everyone would enjoy their life and get more out of life if they lived like this, and we should just be telling everyone.
Here's the thing. My opinion, everyone struggles with anxiety and depression, right? It's just different levels.
Yeah.
My mum suffers with bipolar, which is she's up, she's down, right? And life is waves like this anyway, okay? So, say like when I was struggling, maybe my waves were kind of like this. My mum's waves are like this. Someone who says that they don't experience depression or anxiety, their waves might be like this, a little bit of a somber mood. Yeah, so everyone deals with that. So the way to get through all this kind of thing is to manage these waves. So what I did, as I'd go down a big anxiety and depression kind of road, and as I'd come back up, instead of running away from it and having fun with my friends and figuring out, not figuring out, just getting on my life until it comes again and I don't want it to come back. Instead, when I started to come up, I would then start researching. I'd go back in on it feeling okay. So when I felt okay, I'd then go back in on it and tackle it in a good mood and not in a scared mood, because you don't want to think about it when you feel that way. So that's what I did. Every time I came up, I went to work on it. And when I came down, I'd have a little bit more knowledge because it's going to come. Yeah. You can't push it away. So when you go down, you come up. That's my advice as well. When you feel good, because you can't feel that way forever, even when you're really bad. You do pop out of it for seconds. That's proof that it will go and come. So when you do pop out, take that moment to be like, okay, maybe I can try another method next time it comes, because it will come. But then the next time it comes, each time you'll have a little bit of knowledge how to like deal with it. Do you know what I mean? So. Yeah.
This is really good advice. Thank you. Yeah, really good.
I know it is. For me, it's not about going to your doctor. It's not about taking the tablets. It's about Eastern philosophy. I trust anyone more than those cultures and the ancient ways they used to do it. And that's all that Eckhart Tolle is talking about. Is especially Taoism he really touches upon, and that I hold that dear now because I understand it so much now because of what I've been through. So I know it's the way to tackle these kind of things. I mean, go to doctors and talk to them, but you know what the doctors are going to do? They're going to give you a quick fix. They're going to give you a pill, which, from my research, it hurts people more than it does any good. Good fix to maybe get them out of a hole for sure, but you know what they do? They take it, they get out of the hole and they forget about it, and it will bubble up. And
it's a temporary fix, that's what it
absolutely,
is, and then it can leave you with more problems that you had sometimes. Yeah. I know I had like nausea and all sorts of other things come as part of it. So.
I had super bad insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I could constantly listen to my heartbeat in my really just the common symptoms of it. I was just dealing with all the time. Really terrible, and I just know how scary it is. And now I'm out the other end. I will never say that I won't ever experience it again. That's the point. The point is maybe I will get scared or I will feel depressed. The point is to not push it away. Don't neglect it. Feel it and see it for what it is and see what's going on. See the way you're reacting to it inside. That's what makes it so worse, because you build up an identity for the anxiety of this thing. I had it, I'm like, oh my god, it's so scary. But the sooner you start looking at it, like every time I'm on a plane, scared out of my mind when I used to fly all my life, but after this event, scared out of my mind. So I'd have to sit there, and I consider myself quite brave for doing it, because I'm like, I always had a bottle of wine in my bag.
Really, on the plane and everything?
Yeah, never drank it, but I never drank it. So that was like my fail-safe, and I was like, right, I'm going to just feel this. And 2 years of doing that, and reading, and a good diet, and not treating yourself like shit. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of exercise when you do feel okay. Yeah. Optimism, don't lose your optimism, because it will change. Everyone's stuck in these ruts, and their mind really gets there and says, my mum, bless her, she's like, I'm depressed for life. And there was a day when I was like, how do you feel now? And she's always in a good mood, because bipolar, she gets up there. So I asked her, how do you feel now? She goes, I feel great. I goes, there you go then. You are not depressed right now. You will be later. But people don't get it because their mind says, I'm ill. So they'll never let that idea go, which is a shit, and it's hard to do. Like, I'm not saying that I know how to do it, but I do feel that these looking at yourself inside, you'll find out why it's happening and how to kind of deal with it-ish.
But like you say, I know when I'm going through a really dark phase with it, it is hard to remember that there is hope and things do get better, because it seems so dark, but it always does get better. It always does. That's it.
I can't agree with you more. Like, I'm like, it's going to go, it's going to go. I had a tough time and knowing the fact of this, but I couldn't accept it to be truth. Yeah. Even though it was truth. So when you're in your darkest times, you can't just sit there and go, it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. It's through practice that a slow knowing will arrive over time. You don't have to keep saying it, slowly, and knowing, and mine, I honestly, has just arrived in maybe the past 6-7 months of a slow little warm, whenever I do feel bad, it will go, and then, because I'm not fighting it anymore, it doesn't even stay anymore. I could dare say I barely experience anything like that anymore, because there's no longer me trying to kick it away. Yeah. You say, don't, it's just being aware of what's going on inside you instead of being so overtaken by it, and now I understand why people have panic attacks, because their thoughts and their feelings match up like that. Yeah. You feel terrible, your mind says this is terrible, your feelings react. And then you're off on this crazy cycle, which is, I have so much compassion for people now, because it's so terrifying to be in those situations, and almost no one will be able to help you. Yeah. So I do hope in the future maybe do more stuff like this, and well, I don't know that much. I've only been through my own experience, but I do feel it's a bit selfish of me if I don't try and help people.
There's got to be some good to come out of it, hasn't there? Has to be. Yeah.
I was in that hole that people said almost like, you have to deal with this now, and I was like, I can't let that be like that, and I know there's other people like that, so if I can get some people out of that hole, because it's a bad hole to be in, like, it's worth it, you know what I mean?
I wanted to ask you about how your anxiety manifested in you, because for me, I get like hives, I get heart palpitations. Some days I just want to stay in my room and close the curtains. How did you react to it, and how did it show itself in you most of the time?
I used to have a bit of shortness of breath when I was younger. I used to smoke a lot of fags, and I used to brush it off all the time. Couldn't get my breath, really scary stuff. And Warped Tour 2012, I think, I was drinking bottles of JD every night, sometimes doing some drugs, coke, drinking, basically getting smashed all the time. Really bad at the age I was at. And there was sometimes it could be up to 50 degrees. So we played a show the next day, I'm hanging out my arse. I play a show, I couldn't catch my breath, and I really couldn't catch my breath. And then these shooting anxieties because it felt like I couldn't breathe. And I would never ever want to be in that situation again. And since that moment of fear of not what's going on, I can't breathe, what I'm supposed to do, can't breathe, just gives me shivers now thinking about it. From then on, it was like the common road to anxiety and depression just followed me after that event. So it usually is like that with everyone, like a single event pops them off, and that popped me off, and after then I was like, I didn't know what was going on. My mind was just on top of me, I was thinking the darkest things, and it really gives it a head start, but that will die out. And that was the moment I'm like, there was a point I'm like, I got to stop drinking, obviously, and now, because we used to rage all the time, and I just don't do it anymore, it's not worth it. So yeah, that was my kind of event, and I had palpitations and checking my pulse, and like can't leave the house without a valerian root or anything in my pocket that might help me out, and I can't remember some of the stories, but just constant fear. One day I'll feel all right and I'll go walk through the woods, and I could only get so far, then I'd have to go back, because I feel that I was always scared that I might have this big attack or something, and no one's there, or like all the time. And the same thing, I used to have a bottle of like JD on the bedroom at my window. I was never like an alcoholic at all, but I was smart enough to know if I get really bad, I can have a shot and it'll take it away. But
comfort knowing it's
like I'm never like an alcoholic, just as much as anyone in a band parties and gets smashed. I was that guy. But I see it quite often now, that a lot of people that I can notice actually go through it, but they don't address it. Do you know what I mean? And I almost, after suffering for quite a long time, I then found an interest in it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? To see what it's all about, and then meditation and stuff like that, it's now interesting to me. So
I wanted to ask you, because you've always been a band that has been quite DIY. You keep control over everything you do, which is obviously good, because I find with anxiety I need to plan things rigorously to get through certain days and through certain activities. But it also means you're taking a lot of work on and a lot of responsibility and pressure. So how does that balance out? Do you think it's a good thing for your anxiety that you have that control over your work, or is it detrimental?
It depends, because my outlook on everything's kind of changed a bit now since all of this. So I have a little bit of this trust in whatever happens kind of flows through everything. So I try not to be like, don't get me wrong, like this last few months touring in Asia and stuff's been really difficult. Not much sleep, eating not very well, long shows, hot weather. You know, I've lost loads of weight, that really gets me down, but I'm just like, whatever, do you know what I mean? It doesn't, affect it in a way, but yeah, there is times like, especially right now, I'm at my point with touring and stuff and all the band work now where I want to break now. It's been really tough touring the entire planet, do you know what I mean? So it's ready for a break, but taking our own stuff, that's just part of my life. It's just fun. This is all fun. Sometimes it gets stressful, but I've kind of crossed this little anxiety bridge now, I feel, where it's like I let things happen instead of trying to worry about them and say this is too much and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? And try not to complain as much. I mean, sometimes I complain on the surface, do you know what I mean? Like, that's a good way to put it, is that I have different surfaces, do you know what I mean? Like, I complain on the surface and like might worry about a bit of money on surface, I ain't had my dinner on surface, but then there's this other level where I know that it's all okay, do you know what I mean? Or it wouldn't be this way. Yeah. Because none of this is in our control. Life's weird, as we all know. This interview, it seems like we're controlling it, and here we are doing it. I think there's something a little bit more significant that we can't see from our perspective that's taking care of it all, do you know what I mean?
It's funny, that fact fills me with hope, but also like it's scary as well that
Absolutely.
It's not in your control.
Absolutely,
I have mixed feelings about it.
Everyone has the same kind of thing, and that's what interests me about meditation and stuff, is that the confusion of who we are and what's actually going on and the way we think and stuff like that. And it is a bit like, this isn't in my control. This is crazy, but actually the whole goal of every religion is to realise that fact that you are everything. This is what they're all saying. I don't know this myself, but I'm understanding it in theory as I go along. So you are this flow. It's not you are separated it, and I can't control any of this, and I'm here. It's you are this flow. Yeah. So as soon as you come and kind of ride with it, instead of saying no or yes to it all, yes is just the same as no, just you ride with it, it is as it is, then you become that flow. Do you know what I mean? You become part of it instead of standing away from it all the time and saying, what is all this? This is crazy. It's only your personality stepping away and saying this is crazy, but actually life's crazy, no doubt about that. Do you know what I mean? It's only crazy when you think about it.
Crazy in a good way, perhaps.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because I really want to be starting to work with like management teams and labels to try and incorporate some mental health care for musicians, because you're under unique pressures with being away from home and your home comforts. Absolutely. And lack of sleep and all that sort of stuff. What would you want in place as a member of a band to help you, like when you're on tour or when you're on the downtime in between cycles, when that's also a bit weird as well?
I think it's easy for, this is no disrespect to my management team or anyone's management team or anyone's team in general, but as a campaign progresses, it's easy for the people that aren't on the road to treat the band like, kind of like moving statues in a way, like you do these gigs, you go all this, and maybe we'll go there, we'll pick up a bit of money there, you do all this, which is what you want.
A product.
Yeah, you want to keep it up, you want to keep the money up, you want to keep the band rolling, we want to make it a living, do you know what I mean? But it's easy to forget that we are humans and we're on the ground walking it, do you know what I mean? Like in China we were doing headlining shows, getting back to the hotel at 2, getting up at 4, flying 7 hours, hotel, play gig 2, lobby call at 4, you know what I mean? It's
relentless,
that, yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, for a bit of advice, I'd be like, try and think about it. If you had to do it, you'd understand that it's very tiring, and for something to be in place, I think just more knowledge on something new, like the subjects I'm talking about, that something that people maybe shug away sometimes. Like, this is now why I'm more interested in religion and stuff, the real reason behind it, not all this cover up and Jesus and all it's been misleaded for a long way, but since going down this Eastern road, I now understand why they're in place and why people want faith in this thing, and it ultimately it's having faith in nature and the way things are, which is the way I like to look at it. So maybe something's put in place, maybe like a diet, maybe a bit of a diet plan, maybe a few nice books to read that might help people, some audio books, and maybe some Chinese tonics. Like, for me, that's the package that helped me out, is a diet plan, a bit of meditation every now and then when you can, some time in nature, and some Chinese teas to just relax the soul and keep you on a level. And this is an idea I had, which kind of worked, that my mind was so crazy, I was struggling. I was like, what if I can get my internal structures on a level? Let's get that straight first. Like, my insides, get me calm on a level, and these Chinese tonics are adaptogens. They're really strong substances. They help you out on the level that they think they can help you out, these tonics. So I'm like, maybe I can level myself out on the physical level, and then maybe in over time I may be able to handle my mental level a little bit, and maybe that may calm down too. And it turned out it did. So I would like to implement something like that, maybe. I don't know. So I think they need a new angle on it, because depression and anxiety have got, just like religion, it's got the wrong name now. It's got the wrong feeling to it. It's people look at it and they've already got a judgment, when depression and anxiety doesn't mean anything. Everyone, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean much. It needs maybe a new name for now and a new outlook on it for people to look at and be like, oh, I do go through a bit of that. Maybe I'll take some of that. Maybe I'll. You know what I mean? It's old news now. It's the wrong words for people now. Even when you say, oh, I have depression, it's like, it's a lot deeper than that word. Anxiety, it's a lot deeper than that word. So
because we all feel it in so unique ways. We all respond to it in unique ways.
Have you ever met anyone that doesn't worry?
No.
That's anxiety.
And I'd worry if they didn't worry, because it's human to worry.
You ever met anyone that's not been in a sad mood? That's depression. Yeah. It's just on different levels, and it goes deeper and deeper in the way you think. So,
and our response to that feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's a good idea. That it needs a new outlook on the way that we are addressing it and talking about it.
What do you think about, like, would your members of the band, if they're having a bad time, would they perhaps like speak to a therapist via Skype while they're on tour? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, but maybe. The thing is with me is that the Western angle never sat with me and never did anything for me. It was always the natural and the Eastern route that spoke to me more. I would much rather be speaking to a Zen monk or a Buddhist, or, you know what I mean, someone who's a teacher in Taoism, someone like that. I would much rather speak to that than a therapist, because a therapist, for all we know, may be more clouded by judgments than we know. So I don't know. I mean, these are just my opinions too. So
that's key, because it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. You've got to find what works for you, and that's the key point.
But the thing is, I don't think that many people are seeing this route that I've kind of taken. So maybe that might help people more, instead of being like,
that's the only way.
What are the options? You've got CBT, not C. You've got
cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yeah.
That's hard to say.
You've got that. You've got your doctors and your tablets. You've got your family, and there's not many roads to go down. And I believe that this road is one that isn't there, because doctors won't talk about it.
They won't. That's because it's not sciencey. They always need a scientific.
It's not
fact,
synthetic, and it's not money involved in their direction. So I'm not preaching at all, but maybe that is the missing thing that needs to be the new angle. Nature takes care of everything. Nature's got an answer for everything. You just need to find out where the answer is for you. And I believe that you have a disease, nature has the answer for you somewhere. You're obviously Western medicine has its place all the time, saves lives every day, but it also kills a lot of people too, and hurts a lot of people. You don't see nature hurting people in that sense, unless it's, you know, you've been stung by something crazy. I don't, you know what I mean?
Just the natural nature's,
exactly.
You know.
You know, you could say the diseases are natural, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the answers are there somewhere in the natural world.
So basically, just don't think you've got to stick to the routes that everyone's telling you. You could try something else, and you might be surprised, like you've been. And
I mean, I don't trust Western medicine. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't trust it. I don't trust the way the doctors work. I mean, I spoke to my doctor when I went down there about maybe a new diet, and she just shrugged me off.
Tell me about it.
And I was trying to talk to her about it, and she was like, no, you know what I mean? I'm like, give me these tablets that could potentially make me worse. I was like, ever since that, I'm like, my mum, bless her, she struggles, or my girlfriend struggles with it. Everyone struggles with it, and there's not much out there. The doctor's answer is take these tablets and come back to us and see how you feel, which is bullshit. Yeah. So I don't trust them.
But they won't listen to you if you offer them advice or say, I've read up about this and this genuinely seems. They won't take that. They don't like that.
It's like going to school and trying to create a new subject, you know what I mean? Not going to have it. It's not in the rules of life these days. So I'm not preaching or anything, but I feel that there's definitely new angles to look at it. And Eckhart Tolle is
the man.
He's the man. If you get that audiobook and tell me you don't feel better or feel more optimistic about it.
He's got a newer book as well.
The New Earth?
A newer one of that. A new version of The Power of Now. He's got another one.
Oh, what, the practicing? Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
No. Get reading.
Yeah. So I got the audiobooks now, so it's just so nice. I like hearing his voice too. Yeah. I just sleep to his voice, and I sleep to Alan Watts' voice. It's nice, like, And the good thing about these guys is they talk about real life. We don't.
Yeah.
People forget that not all this gets shrugged under the rug, get on with your life. They're addressing the right now situation and looking at it properly. Like, I respect that, and I get drawn to that now so much. So, yeah, I can totally check it out.
Check it out. Shall we leave on that note?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for talking to
No
me
problem.
and being so open. And hopefully you got something out of this, guys.
Yeah.
Let us know if you try any of his techniques and if it helps you. That'd be really interesting to know. So.
Yeah, I'm currently making a bit of a film with Aaron, maybe just a short film, more so just to inspire. Maybe not going to give like the whole story. I've given my whole story out now, actually. So maybe I put this in the film now. But yeah, just a bit of maybe inspiration that it will get better.
Yeah.
The universe will not allow you to stay in the rut that you're in. Mark my words. And if not, you can talk to me and I'll help you. It will get better. Just keep an open eye and look at the problems directly. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.